Movie starts off with the dulcet tones of white noise coming out of all the different channels, as if your local theater technician is balancing the sound of the auditorium while you're watching the movie. The first image of this film is a distorted and blurry shot of the White House press room, as if it's making a statement about the political landscape and your untreated hyperopia.
Today, I can announce that the so-called Western forces of Texas and California have suffered a very great loss.
The more interesting storyline to follow here is how a president f***ed up so badly Texas and California decided to fight together. Also, having Ron f***ing Swanson in your movie and only using him as a bookend for said movie. I know this is likely a propaganda state TV channel at this point, considering this guy is on his third term, but why is there no branding on this channel whatsoever? Plagiarism.
You're Lee Smith.
You mean the Hall of Fame closer for the Chicago Cubs? I know it feels like a stretch, but how many Lee Smiths can there be? The NYPD create a CPR logo that has nothing to do with actual CPR. In fact, I would give all the sins back if the movie had a scene where a police officer is giving actual CPR to someone and at the same time shouting, "I will give you courtesy, professionalism, and respect, and you will love it." The thrilling action of pictures being taken. The thrilling action of pictures being taken of pictures being taken.
We woke up in Des Moines, Iowa, and he's wearing my wedding ring.
A24 movie gives Warner Brothers a free idea to make The Hangover Part 4. Also, waking up in Des Moines, Iowa.
Jesus, the Wi-Fi's f***ing slow.
There's an actual civil war happening right outside this hotel room, and Lee's complaining about the Wi-Fi. The sin, as always, is millennials.
July 4th, and the optics are irresistible.
Just realize that even in a world where the second Civil War is taking place, there would still be a bunch of assholes shooting off firecrackers in the suburbs on July 4th and a couple of weeks surrounding it.
The WF aren't stopped. They're stalled.
Much like this scene has completely stalled what was otherwise a pretty f***ing great opening 7 minutes. Also, using initials for organizations/movements we've only heard mentioned a couple times in the first 7 minutes.
So you can beat us there? I couldn't beat you in a brisk walk.
Good point, I guess. Except for the fact that no one is going to be walking to different cities. You'd be taking transportation. So beating them there is still an option.
I'm gonna photograph the president.
Man, I didn't realize they lowered the stakes of these National Treasure movies so much.
DC is falling and the president is dead inside a month. Interviewing him is the only story left.
It's not a story if it never gets filed.
Sammy would be the voice of reasoning at CinemaSins.
What do you think the route's gonna be like?
If they needed Sammy's help with laying out a route to DC, then why were they being so coy just a couple minutes earlier about letting him know where they were going?
Ma'am, just to warn you, if you take the elevator, we do sometimes have power cuts, which might mean a delay in your journey.
I'm glad the movie has time for some minor world building with the terrifying idea that you might get delayed on an elevator due to power cuts. You know, with all the other upheaval, the terrorism, the water shortages, and whatever started the Civil War in the first place, the elevator delays really enrich my experience.
We offer the option to use the stairs.
I know this is supposed to be a maddening look at hotel amenities in Civil War times, but we offer the option to use the stairs? Is this something you have to pay extra for when the power cuts finally stop? The movie's trying to make me unreasonably hate a hotel clerk for no fucking reason.
How did you know I was staying?
Yeah, I didn't mean to, stalk.
Not meaning to stalk someone by stalking someone.
By the way, you have the same name as my hero, Lee Miller.
Lee. We're talking fucking Lee. Character soaks in the bathtub and thinks about their fucked up life cliche. I see the military is patrolling the streets of Manhattan and blocking large swaths of real estate, but why is this one road stuffed with cars? Weird, there's no real traffic out here, and yet I still find these cyclists annoying.
What the f*** is that girl doing here?
It's amusing to me that Lee thought that this conversation about Jesse tagging along couldn't be heard 15 feet away, especially since the fucking back hatch is open. You might as well just tell her right to her face if you're going to use this tactic. I'm very happy the movie tells us the exact mileage to DC, but nothing about the true nature of this country's interpersonal conflict. Driving. Excitement?
You don't want to miss this.
She doesn't want to miss a bunch of abandoned cars on the interstate that make this look no different than a season 1 episode of The Walking Dead. Also, you gotta love how in these apocalyptic settings where cars get piled up on the interstates, the heroes always seem to find that path where there are no cars, so they can continue their journey unimpeded. Joel goes over a slight bump that jostles Lee, and she gives him an eat shit look as if there were any other way to drive over uneven ground during apocalyptic times.
Just be sure you get the words out before the piano wire gets too tight.
In this scenario where a piano wire is about to go around my neck, what does it matter if I get the question out in time? I'm still getting a piano wire around my neck unless the question itself is like yelling Rumpelstiltskin.
There's a gas station up ahead. Looks open.
How the f*** can she tell that from here? There isn't a damn person or car in sight from this angle.
300. For half a tank and 2 cans?
300 buys you a sandwich.
300 Canadian.
Why didn't she say so before? Was the implication of $300 American a lowball offer that she hoped would work before the guys started talking about sandwiches? Also, Civil War does a great job of helping us understand all the things going on in the country without having any character overload and bore us with a bunch of exposition. For instance, based on this quick exchange, we can deduce that the American dollar is all but useless, and the Canadian dollar has taken its place. And while I do love a movie that has the show-don't-tell dynamic down this well, I don't know why they had to make up that there's a country named Canada. Well, that's just silly. Next, they'll be talking about other imaginary places like Delaware.
This isn't going to take long.
Well, it might take longer than you're expecting since the gas cap is on this side of the car and you pulled up on the wrong side of the pump, Joel. This world is so f***ed up that the ATM and the EBT have to go to work. Also, this sign says no cash left with cashier, cash removed every eve. So doesn't that mean that there's cash with the cashier until the evening? This is usually a note about the safe, but that's not what's being said here. Well, looks like year 2 of Project 2025 is about as bleak as you can imagine. Also having to answer why is your car wash closed questions with because we had to use that area to string up a couple of looters and torture them for a few days, so would you like a ham and cheese sandwich today?
We've been debating what to do with them for 2 days now.
Yeah, one of the hallmarks of fascists is that they're famously indecisive.
I didn't take a photo. I didn't even remember I had cameras on me.
Apparently, so did the movie, because this very important development in Jesse's career as a photojournalist is told to us after the fact.
We stand ready to fulfill the promise of our forefathers. To the flag, to the nation.
Having the perfect narration to go along with you staring wistfully out the window. JCPenney. Also, the movie doesn't have the balls to show me what happened at the Battle of JCPenney. At the 3-day Labor Day sale, coupons were cut, prices were slashed, throats got slit, mothers were stabbing mothers, and humans started turning into Smeagol's. Then all that fun was ruined when a helicopter crashed in the parking lot.
I'm sorry for jamming my way into your ride, okay? I know you're really angry about it, and I know you think I don't know but...
I'm not angry about that, Jesse.
Great, skip! In case you confused it with 506 miles to DC. Man, I bet you feel really stupid then. I think it's funny that they drove around looking for a place to stay for the night, and they somehow thought driving into an abandoned train yard was the best place to go. But luckily, this train yard came with a couch, so nobody would be too uncomfortable.
This gunfire is getting extremely f***ing hard.
The next slogan for the NRA somehow makes it into the movie. While everybody tries to go to sleep in and around the van, Lee, who's not going to go to sleep tonight, sits upright and hogs the f***ing couch. Yay, Lee's getting pictures of whatever this conflict is. Movie never once shows any of the journalists wearing any kind of ear protection. How can they still hear after photographing all these gun battles?
You gotta move!
But does he really? He's been just fine behind that column the whole time. Why risk getting hit by bullets now? And surprise, surprise, this ends up killing him. But there is great news. Jesse gets dramatic pictures out of it. So be sure to include that when you tell this guy's family about his death. I'm halfway expecting them to try going up the stairs here, but getting blocked by massive bookcases and filing cabinets like they're playing The Last of Us. Signaling for everyone to be quiet right before you turn on bright gun flashlights, which anyone you're trying to sneak up on would see. The following sequence of events that include the execution of soldiers, more action-packed photo-taking, and De La Soul's Say No Go will be presented to you in slow motion to pad the movie's runtime. Earlier at the gas station, Lee had to spend 300 Canadian on a little bit of gasoline, so in these times I can't imagine how much ammunition must go for. So why is this f***ing idiot continuing to shoot after these guys are clearly dead, or at the very least about to be?
Holy f***ing shit! What a f***ing rush!
Moments in history. This is the first time that those words have ever been uttered while entering West Virginia.
Park over there.
Surely when the woman told them to park over there, she didn't mean this super wide open space where no other vehicles are. They've got all these trailers parked right on top of each other back here, but the big bad press truck gets to park in front of the outhouses in the entire end zone of this football stadium?
Developing negs on the road.
Yeah, I got myself a pretty neat travel kit.
Considering how hard it is just to get gasoline, where exactly is Jesse getting all this film and developer? I feel like it would be much easier to just get a digital camera. Anyway, I'm sure there's an explanation, but this movie doesn't give us anything about how the media works, how much money they have, or even the news organization Jesse works for. Reading. What a neat trick this movie pulls off by showing actual photos of what I look like watching this movie. Good guess, Arrow, but no. The correct sin is Steelers.
Did we just drive through a time portal?
It's a Twilight Zone.
Jesse and Lee both have talked about how their parents are acting like nothing is happening in the country. So why is anyone in this car surprised they found a neighborhood where other people are doing the same?
You haven't seen yourself in a mirror.
You've literally been driving and riding in a car for the last few days. There's plenty of reflective glass in a car. It would be impossible for Lee to not have seen herself in a mirror this whole time.
Turn around. I want to take your photo.
You know what? I know this is supposed to return our characters to a sense of normalcy, the way things used to be. It's also a moment where Jesse wants to take a picture, but shows how a journalist can change the truth of a scene if they don't have well-developed ethics. That said, this is some boring-ass shit.
I was thinking it felt like everything I remembered. Look at the tops of the buildings.
So this small town unaffected by the Civil War reminds Sammy of how great things used to be. And then he points out Bud and Larry on top of a building holding guns. So now I'm confused. Does that mean that in the good old days, everything was peaceful as long as there were vigilantes on the roof? Does this mean the town isn't as unaffected by the war as much as they claim? This is a f***ing maddening scene because it's almost like the movie is splitting Sammy's comment into two different meanings. It's great, but it's bad. Well, you know what I mean. Also, what's the purpose of these guys anyway? Hey, we got our eyes on you. You better not be doing any civil warring down there.
There was a turnoff 3 or 4 miles back. Maybe we should turn around and take another route.
Good idea, Sammy, but I'm going to ignore it because this movie has an intense sniper scene in store for us and we need to entertain people after spending the last 5 minutes trying on dresses. And with that, the merciless war on Christmas was finally over. Holy shit, what did this movie just turn into? Is this the Virgin Suicides 25 years later?
I got good news.
It's at this moment that the movie cuts to Lee sleeping, and then Jesse sleeping, and then me sleeping. What? Not in your version? Well, movies are what you make them, I guess.
What the f? Tony?
Glad we're finding out what happened to Tony after he had those memorable moments early on. You know, like when he was hugging Joel at the riot and throwing paper at the hotel bar. I was very concerned we weren't ever going to see him again.
How you guys doing? You just scared the s*** out of me. Good. That was the idea.
Pretending like you can have a conversation like this in moving vehicles with loud music blaring and can still hear each other.
I pay over to your car.
Are you crazy, Tony?
Lee just keeps driving instead of simply slowing down and stopping the car so that Tony can't do this stupid shit.
I gotta do it.
Lee just keeps driving instead of simply slowing down and stopping the car so that Jesse can't do this stupid shit.
What's in Charlottesville?
Good hiking, I hear.
Being this chummy and jokey with the guy who has his finger on a trigger while he's holding 2 of your colleagues hostage next to a ditch full of dead bodies.
Missouri?
Missouri? It's the show me state, right?
Yes.
Isn't that what they call it?
This is the scene that everyone talks about in this movie, and rightfully so. Jesse Plemons, who we almost always see as a normal, down-to-earth, nice guy in other movies, is scary as in this scene. But it should be noted that the rest of the cast here make him even more terrifying by how brilliantly they react to him. Luckily, the bad guys line up perfectly so that Sammy can save the day by running them both over. Also, how exactly did Lee and Joel's van get the license plate back on it? Because that fell off quick when they were forced off-road by the military vehicle. And then all of a sudden there's some asshole running after them. Where the has this guy been the whole time? It's like those annoying guys who show up in the camp after you've killed all the gang members in Red Dead Redemption 2. Yet another movie that feels like we need to see people vomiting to understand how upset they are. And we do not need to see on-screen vomiting ever! Movie montage never lets us in on who had to clean up the vomit. So Texas and California banded together to fight in the Civil War against a common enemy, which I have been having a very hard time believing in this movie, but whatever. I'm going to take them to task for creating a flag that is just the traditional United States flag with 2 stars on it. Yes, I am asking secessionist states to be more creative in their flag game, making this image so hard to see that I couldn't even tell why Lee deleting it was so dramatic until I pressed pause on my Blu-ray.
So you and I, we are too late. We missed the story. And Sammy didn't even die for anything good.
Whoa there, Joel, I understand the sentiment, but he did kill a couple of white supremacists. Also, thinking that Sammy would have died for something good if Joel could have asked the president a few questions. Also, they're still going to go into D.C. and try and get an interview with the president, so I'm not sure what Joel is even throwing a fit about here. Why is seeing Kirsten Dunst is looking at someone like this in a movie cliche? Jesus Christ, is this the Brown Bunny? I feel like we've watched Lee clean the blood out of this back seat in real time. I'm sorry, I guess I don't get it. If you're the remaining U.S. government force in Washington and you decide to camp out at the Lincoln Memorial, why did you leave it lit up like this? Sure, we give away our position in the firefight, but I'm thinking about the tourists. Dude had a goddamn rocket launcher and waited until now to use it? You start with the rocket launcher. Look, I get it already. The things Lee has seen as a war photographer have finally caught up to her. I've seen more shots of Kirsten Dunst being reflective in this movie than when they decided vampires could be seen in mirrors in Interview with a Vampire. Smiling at each other while a goddamn civil war is happening right behind you. There's a lot of exciting pew-pewing going on, but I for the life of me can't tell who is supposed to be shooting at who, and can't even figure out how the pew-pewers know who is supposed to be shooting who. They're all dressed very similar and it's goddamn dark out.
What do you hear they're gonna do with it? Kill?
Look, man, if I can barely hear you after the sound is mixed and optimized in a movie theater, I don't know how the this guy can hear you with all the sounds of war going on.
Yeah, he's busting out.
This is a ploy that's so obvious that I'm surprised part of the Western forces don't just ignore the motorcade and go straight into the White House. Movie doesn't satisfy my slapstick requirement by having a full-fledged tour of 6th graders and a knowledgeable tour guide going through the White House like nothing is happening.
This place is empty.
He says, after going into 2 whole rooms. Also, it's about time someone just spouts out something about the War of 1812 like Olympus Has Fallen and White House Down both did. You're getting a sin if you do it, movie, but you're also getting a sin if you don't. So here's a sin.
Ma'am, the president is willing.
This whole assault on Washington and the White House is really great stuff. Kind of wish the whole movie could have been this, but I also see why it wasn't. Maybe I'm too much of a dick. No, don't everyone start defending me all at once. I think if we take some honest stock in our movie review. I just called it movie review. Okay, what was I saying? Oh yeah, this movie for not giving me more Washington action.
Going left, you move when I move.
When I move, you move. Just like that. When I move, you move. Just like that. Hell yeah. Hey, DJ, bring that back. Jessie is new to the war photographer game, but she has proven to be a quick and smart thinker for the majority of the movie. Until now. She will run in the middle of the hallway with no cover, knowing there are people on the other end of the hallway shooting at them. Because how else would the movie give Lee her climactic death while she's saving someone else's life? Also, Lee runs to save Jessie like a Secret Service agent, but somehow she forgets to tackle instead of just pushing Jessie out of the way. Blah, blah, we don't know what humans will do in extreme circumstances. Yeah, I get it, but I think this will be instructive for Lee the next time it happens. Also, how long does it take for an entire group of soldiers to reload these guns? I guess enough to make a movie dramatic during a passing of the torch scene is the answer. Jessie will now take photos of Lee as she is dying, just like Lee said she would take pictures of Jessie if she was ever killed. And now I have to take the time to figure out if this is actual irony or Alanis Morissette's version of irony, and God, I hate research. I can't believe this asshole was just in the Oval Office this whole time. Like, there are bunkers that the president can hide away in the White House, right? I know she's waiting for them to shoot the president, but Jessie has a perfect shot of him surrounded by soldiers and just stands there, waiting.
I need a quote.
Don't let him kill me. Yeah. That'll do.
Yeah, that'll do? Are you kidding me? This is what we're ending on? This isn't Babe?
I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes.
I was born ready. I'm Ron Swanson.
We offer the option to use the stairs.
What kind of idiots do you have working here?
The finest in New York.
Were you much older than she is now?
Was I any different when you told me?
Are you guys aware there's like a pretty huge civil war going on all across America?
This job would be great if it wasn't for the fucking customers.
Who's giving you orders?
Ain't you?
You don't know what side they're fighting for.
My side, your side.
Yo, what's over there in that house?
Ah, a trout?
It's all right. It's okay. There's something to live for. Jesus told me so.
I told you to drive like a maniac.
Go, we're gonna make it. Come on, we're gonna make it.
I'm not gonna make it.
This guy's your colleague? This guy here?
Yes, sir. He's my...
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
In fact, what the am I doing in the back? You the motherfucker should be on brain detail.
We're gonna have to put you up for the Congressional Medal of Ugly!
Hardcore, man. Fucking hardcore.